My ex-wife thought she'd scored big by going after my apartment in the divorce, only to find out the luxury condo she had her eye on wasn't even mine to give. It was a rental the whole time. Let's just say the gold digger didn't get the treasure she was expecting. This all started back in 2009. I just started university and was trying to figure out how to be an adult one clumsy step at a time. Like most broke college kids, I didn't have much to my name, just a couple of hand-me-downs and a cheap coffee maker, but somehow I lucked into something pretty sweet. At the time, it was me, my girlfriend, let's call her Lena, and our buddy Ethan, all on the hunt for a decent place to live. We weren't after anything fancy, just something that wouldn't swallow our savings whole. After weeks of scrolling through sketchy listings and dead-end ads, we finally stumbled on a gem. It was a 2-bedroom apartment smack dab in the heart of the city. I mean, the location couldn't have been better. Restaurants, grocery stores, campus, you name it, it was within walking distance. And the rent? Crazy low for the area. It felt too good to be true, honestly. Like we'd somehow won a housing lottery. Turns out, the woman who owned it had fallen on hard times. Back then the economy was circling the drain, jobs were vanishing left and right. She'd been laid off and decided to pack up and try her luck overseas. Rather than deal with managing the place from abroad, she made us a pretty generous offer. Live there, handle the bills, take care of basic upkeep, and the place was ours, unofficially. We weren't owners, but we had full run of it. It was the closest thing to ownership you could get without signing a deed. It wasn't some complicated legal agreement. She just trusted us to keep things in order, and in return, we got to stay in a prime spot for a price that barely made a dent in our bank accounts. So there we were, me, Lena, Ethan, and Ethan's girlfriend all squeezed into this modest little 2-bedroom. Sure, it was tight, but we made it work. Ethan and his girl had one room, Lena and I took the other. We didn't care about square footage, we were just happy to have a roof over our heads and a place to crash after long nights filled with textbooks and cheap beer. Even though I wasn't the official owner, I was the one who managed everything, utilities, repairs, rent, you name it, I handled it. The lease was in my name, and I guess over time I just started seeing the place as mine. I didn't even think twice about the fact that I wasn't technically the landlord. It became second nature. Life moved on. Eventually things shifted as they always do. Lena and I ended things. No big fallout or scandal, we just grew apart. Ethan and his girlfriend decided to get their own place, so suddenly I had the whole apartment to myself. It was a bit surreal at first, going from a packed apartment to total silence, but I got used to it. Actually, I kind of liked the peace and quiet. The rent hadn't changed, still dirt cheap for that area, and now that I had a full-time job, I could afford it solo. So I stayed. Just because it was a 2-bedroom didn't mean I needed to move out. No way I was giving up that deal. Living alone turned out to be pretty great. Friends would come by, hang out, and crash in the second bedroom whenever they needed. I never charged them or anything, it was more like an unofficial guest room for anyone who didn't want to trek back to the suburbs after a night out. I liked the company. It kept the place from feeling too quiet. Since I was still handling everything, bills, rent, maintenance, it just kept feeling more and more like it was truly my home. Funny how that works. After so many years, I kind of forgot it was technically still a rental. I'd been there so long, dealing directly with the landlord had just become part of my routine. She trusted me to keep the place in good shape, and in return, she let me stay without fuss. No paperwork. No reminders. Just a quiet, under-the-table agreement that worked for both of us. I'd transfer the rent directly to her, she'd stay hands-off, and as long as nothing broke down and the money showed up on time, it was smooth sailing. I mean, I wasn't about to mess up the kind of setup. Rent like that in a prime spot? You don't just walk away from that. So there I was, early 30s, living alone in a cozy 2-bedroom apartment right in the middle of the city. To the outside world, it probably looked like I had everything lined up, stable job, solid place, nice life. And to be honest, I felt pretty good about where I was. Sure, I didn't own the apartment, not legally anyway, but in every other way it felt like it was mine. It had become a big part of my life, almost like part of my identity. I'd say, I live in the city and people just assumed it was my place. I never corrected them, not on purpose, it just never came up. I wasn't pretending to be some big-time property owner. That idea never even crossed my mind. I was just a guy who'd stuck around long enough that the place started to feel like home. Simple as that. Looking back, I get how it might seem odd that I never clarified it was a rental. But I swear, I wasn't hiding anything. It just wasn't something I thought about. The rent came out of my account every month, the bills got paid, friends popped in and out, it was all part of the rhythm of my life. But I guess that's where things started to get a little tricky. By the time 2015 rolled around, I was still living in that same apartment, still enjoying the perks of being right in the middle of everything. Life felt stable. I had my job, I had my routine, and I had the place all to myself. Then, out of nowhere, like life always seems to do, I met someone. Her name was Sabrina. It wasn't anything wild or dramatic. No fireworks or sappy movie moment. We met through mutual friends at some party. She was cool, easy to talk to, sharp-minded, and we just clicked. Conversation flowed like we'd known each other for years. We were just chatting about the usual stuff, travel, work, life in general, and honestly, it felt like we were in sync right from the start. Sabrina struck me as someone who had her whole life mapped out. She had goals, deadlines, a clear vision of what she wanted, and at the time, that was actually kind of refreshing. I'll admit everything between us moved way quicker than I expected. Sabrina didn't beat around the bush, she let me know up front that she wasn't into casual dating. She was looking for something serious, long-term. And me? Well, I figured, why not? I wasn't exactly in my 20s anymore, and here was someone who seemed to have it all together. Plus, I was riding that high you get at the start of a new relationship where everything feels easy and exciting and you don't stop to question much. We started dating seriously pretty quickly, and before I knew it, things were getting even more intense. Sabrina began hinting, well, not so subtly, about moving in together. And I didn't really see a reason to say no. We were getting along great, and the apartment was plenty big for two. Honestly, I thought it'd be nice to have someone around more often. When the topic came up, it never even occurred to me to sit her down and explain the details of the place. Yeah, technically it was a rental, but I'd lived there for so long, it just felt like mine. I was paying the rent, handling the bills, taking care of everything. In my head, it was my apartment. I didn't think it mattered whether I owned it or not. So I didn't mention it. Not long after that, Sabrina moved in. Just like that, we were living together. And for a while, things were actually really good. We had our routines, cooking dinner together, binging shows at night, little domestic things that make it feel like a real partnership. She even started putting her own touches on the place, swapping out throw pillows, rearranging the furniture, bringing in some plants. I liked it, to be honest. It made the place feel more like it belonged to both of us, not just me. But then things started to get complicated. Sabrina wasn't just thinking about cohabiting. She had a whole blueprint for the future. Within 9 months of dating, she was already talking marriage. And yeah, that kind of caught me off guard. Still, I went along with it. I was deep in that phase where everything seemed fine on the surface, and it felt easier to just go with the flow than to stop and think too hard. So by early 2016, we were engaged. I'd popped the question, or maybe more accurately, I gave in to the momentum, and we were officially planning a wedding. It all moved so fast that I didn't even get a chance to fully process it. I thought I was in love. Maybe I really was at the time. Getting married just seemed like the next step. Sabrina was thrilled and already knee-deep in wedding planning. And me? I didn't want to be the guy who pumped the brakes on her dream. Looking back now, there were plenty of signs I should have slowed things down. Sabrina was always talking about our future, buying a house, having kids, but sometimes it felt like I was just a placeholder in her plan. Like the details were already set and I was just filling in the role of husband. It started to feel like I was getting swept up in someone else's current without ever checking if I actually wanted to be on the ride. Meanwhile, the apartment kept transforming in her eyes from mine to ours. She started talking about renovations like opening up the kitchen or turning the second bedroom into a nursery. And I just nodded, thinking, yeah, not happening. I mean, come on, it's a rental. I can't exactly knock down a wall. But again, I didn't say anything. I figured there was no need to get into the fine print. We were happy, right? We got married in mid-2016, and for a little while, not much changed. Married life just felt like a continuation of what we already had. Same habits, same routines. But slowly, things started to shift. I can't pinpoint the exact moment it started, but we began drifting. At first, it was small stuff, little spats over what movie to watch or where to eat dinner. But those little things started piling up. Sabrina, who used to be so laser-focused on our shared future, started spending more and more time with her friends, going out without me. Meanwhile, I stayed home, kept working, doing the same things I'd always done to keep our life running smoothly. It was like we were living in two separate worlds under the same roof, and neither of us knew how to meet in the middle anymore. By the time 2017 came around, it was pretty obvious we weren't in sync. We'd sit in the same room in complete silence, like strangers. Conversation didn't come easy anymore, and there was this unspoken tension we both tiptoed around. We tried to fix it. We had a few of those heavy talks, you know, the ones where we promised to be better, to talk more, to spend more quality time together. But deep down, I think we both knew it wasn't working. Sabrina still had her eyes on the big picture, the house, the kids, the whole suburban dream, and I was finally starting to admit to myself that I didn't fit into that vision. Maybe I never really had. And that's when we started talking about divorce. It wasn't some dramatic explosion or screaming match. Just one tough, honest conversation where we admitted we weren't happy. We both deserved more than just going through the motions. So after just over a year of marriage, we decided to call it. No drama, no bitterness. Just two people realizing it was time to go their separate ways. Sabrina made plans to move out and I figured I'd go back to how things were before, just me and the apartment. Simple. Except, it didn't go down like that. At first, everything seemed okay. We were being civil, doing our own thing while sharing the apartment, and it felt like maybe, just maybe, we'd pull off the world's most mature breakup. I actually thought, wow, we're handling this like adults. Then one day at work, I got an email from Sabrina. I assumed it was about the move-out date or something related to the divorce papers. Nope. It was something else entirely. The subject line didn't give away much, just said something generic like, apartment info. So I clicked it, thinking it'd be something minor. Nope. Attached to the email was a full-blown real estate valuation report. I just sat there at my desk, staring at my screen for a full minute, trying to wrap my head around it. Sabrina had gone out and hired a professional to assess how much the apartment was worth without saying a word to me. She paid someone, let them into the apartment, and had them do a full market appraisal. And I had no idea it even happened. Not a heads up, not a casual mention, nothing. Then I got to the body of the email, and that's where she really dropped the hammer. She wrote, just so casually, that once she moved out, she expected me to pay her half of the apartment's value. Half. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Half of the value? What value? This place is a rental. I sat there blinking at the screen thinking, has she lost her damn mind? At first, I honestly thought it had to be a joke. Or maybe she misunderstood something. So I took a breath, tried to keep calm, and typed out a response. I said something along the lines of, hey, did I never mention that this is a rental? Then I explained, politely but clearly, that I've been renting this apartment for years. I pay everything directly to the owner. I don't own the place. There's no equity, no property value to divide. Nothing for her to claim. And no, I never asked her to hire someone to evaluate it. I had no idea why she thought I could somehow buy out half of an apartment I didn't own, especially when she knows exactly where I work and what I make. I'm not out here rolling in cash. Her reply? Let's just say she didn't take it well. About 5 minutes after I hit send, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Sabrina was calling, and the second I picked up, she launched into full-blown rage mode. She was shouting that I'd lied to her for years, that I had deliberately hidden the fact we were living in a rental, and that all this time she thought the apartment was ours. I tried to talk, but she wouldn't let me get a single word in. Just accusation after accusation, like I'd scammed her out of a mansion. She said she never would have moved in if she'd known the truth, that she thought we were building a life together in our home, not some glorified long-term lease. I was stunned. Genuinely stunned. Because in my mind, I hadn't lied. I never claimed to own the place. I just never said it was a rental either. It never came up. I told her, look, I didn't keep anything from you. You never asked. And honestly, I didn't think it was relevant. We lived here comfortably, things were fine. I didn't think ownership mattered. But she wasn't having it. She kept circling back to how I had let her believe it was ours. That I'd misled her, let her decorate and plan our future around something that was never really ours to begin with. I mean, sure, I get why she was upset. But she was acting like I'd crafted some elaborate scheme to lure her into a fake life. That just wasn't the case. It was never some con job. It was just life. Then she hit me with a new demand. She wanted me to reimburse her for the property appraisal she had done. Said it cost €350 and that since we both lived there, I owed her for half. Now I don't know about you, but if someone spends money behind my back and then expects me to pay for it? Yeah, that's not gonna fly. I told her straight, look, I didn't ask you to get an appraisal. You did that on your own without telling me, so that's on you. That sent her into another tailspin. She was screaming that I was a jerk, that I'd wasted her time, and that I'd lied to her about everything. I just sat there, holding the phone, thinking, is this seriously happening right now? She ended the call with one last, you're such an A*****, and then hung up. But, of course, she wasn't done. Next thing I knew, she started telling all of our mutual friends that I'd been lying to her throughout our entire marriage. She spun this story like I'd been some master manipulator, pretending to be a homeowner just to string her along. Like I'd been keeping some deep, dark secret all these years. Suddenly, the group chats were blowing up. People were choosing sides. Some of them messaged me directly asking if what she said was true. Others just quietly ghosted me. It turned into a whole thing, friends debating whether I was in the wrong or if she was overreacting. Some said I should have told her upfront that it was a rental. Others pointed out that, come on, she never even asked and was making a mountain out of a molehill. It all spiraled fast. I remember talking to my best friend about it and he just burst out laughing. He goes, dude, this is Reddit gold. You have to post this. People are gonna lose their minds. And well, here I am. So, Reddit, am I the *** hole for not telling my ex-wife that the apartment we lived in was a rental? Update 1. After that phone call with Sabrina, I honestly thought that was it. That we'd both had our say, blown off steam, and could finally move on. But nope. I was way off. She wasn't done with me. Not even close. The next day, our friend group's group chat exploded. I woke up to what felt like a million notifications. At first, I thought it was just my alarm. Then I looked at my phone, 17 unread messages. And that's never a good sign. You know that pit in your stomach feeling you get when you wake up and instantly know the day's going to be bad? Yeah, that was me. I opened the group chat and there it was, Sabrina's massive rant, front and center. A long, emotional, play-by-play breakdown of how I'd betrayed her. Paragraph after paragraph of raw, dramatic text. She poured her heart out like it was a personal TED Talk. She claimed I'd lied to her from day one, that I'd let her believe we were homeowners and how she felt totally duped. She even mentioned the €350 appraisal, saying she spent that money thinking she was protecting her financial future. Reading it felt like flipping through a script from a soap opera. And as I kept scrolling, I saw the replies already pouring in. Some of our friends immediately jumped into back Sabrina, sending messages like, wow, I can't believe he never told you and that's so shady, I'd be livid too. A few others, thankfully, saw things from my side. They were saying stuff like, it's not like he was hiding it, it's just a rental and why would she assume they owned it without asking? That's when one of our friends, let's call her Holly, tried to step in and be the voice of reason. She posted something along the lines of, guys, maybe this is just a misunderstanding. Let's hear both sides before jumping to conclusions. But Sabrina wasn't having any of that. She fired back almost instantly, there's nothing to misunderstand. He lied by omission. He let me believe we owned that apartment when we didn't. At that point, I felt like I had no choice but to jump into the chat. I didn't really want to stir the pot, but I wasn't about to sit there while everyone thought I was some two-faced liar. So I took a breath and typed up a calm response. I said something like, hey everyone, just to clarify, I never lied to Sabrina. I never told her we owned the place and it honestly just never came up. I've been renting that apartment for years, paying the bills and handling everything myself. It's always felt like home to me and I never thought the fact that it was a rental mattered. If she'd asked, I would have told her. Simple as that. I hit send, hoping maybe that would cool things off. And for a second, the chat actually went quiet. I figured, alright, maybe people are starting to see the bigger picture now. But nope. Sabrina came back with another message, you had every opportunity to tell me. We talked about our future, about maybe renovating or starting a family, and not once did you think to mention we didn't own the place? How was I supposed to know? And just like that, the group chat was blowing up again. More people chimed in, some agreeing with her, others saying she should have asked instead of assuming. It turned into a full-on debate. People were practically writing essays in there. Then my best friend Derek, who'd been pretty quiet up until that point, finally spoke up. And man, his comment cracked me up. He said, let's be real. Who actually asks, hey, do we own this apartment, on a first date? If you're living together, you're probably more worried about what to eat for dinner than whether you're renting or owning. I couldn't help but laugh. Even in the middle of all that drama, Derek's dry humor hit just right. He always had a way of cutting through the nonsense. Sabrina, of course, wasn't amused. She immediately snapped back at Derek, it's not about the first date, it's about trust in a marriage. And just like that, things spun even further out of control. The whole chat was now a war zone. People talking over each other, arguing both sides. Some said I should have been more upfront. Others said Sabrina was overreacting. One guy, Neil, was trying to play mediator, dropping messages like, yeah, I get why Sabrina's upset, but I don't think Opie meant to mislead anyone. Classic fence-sitting. Not helpful, but I guess he meant well. At that point, I was just done. I typed one final message, look, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear about the apartment being a rental. That was never my intention to hide. I thought we were happy living there, and I didn't think it mattered because it always felt like home to me. I never meant to hurt anyone, and if I did, I'm genuinely sorry. Then I muted the chat. I couldn't keep doing it. The whole thing had turned into this exhausting back and forth, and nothing I said was going to change the fact that people had already picked sides. Over the next few days, I heard bits and pieces about how the chat kept going even after I dipped out. Some friends reached out to me privately. They said they understood where I was coming from. Others stayed quiet. Sabrina didn't say another word to me after that, which honestly was for the best. Looking back, I still don't believe I did anything wrong. But I can understand why Sabrina felt blindsided. In her mind, the apartment probably symbolized stability, a foundation for our future. So learning it was a rental might have felt like the ground dropped out from under her. But to me, it was just a place we lived. A home, yeah, but not the definition of our relationship. So yeah, that was the group chat drama. Not exactly a highlight of my life, but hey, it gave me one hell of a story to tell. And if the worst thing I did during our marriage was fail to mention we were renting, I think I'll sleep just fine at night. Update 2. After the whole apartment blow-up, I figured that would be the last of it. Sabrina had vented, I'd said my piece, and the group chat was now a digital war zone I had no intention of revisiting. But of course, it didn't stop there. 2 days later, Sabrina texted me out of nowhere, and this time it was about the car. Honestly, I should have seen it coming. The apartment thing had naturally segued into what's mine and what's yours, like most breakups eventually do. TVs, couches, pets, if we'd had a goldfish, we'd probably have argued over who got that too. Anyway, the car. She messaged me in the middle of the day, completely unprompted, saying, I'm taking the car when I move out. You know that. I just stared at my phone for a second like, wait, what? The car? Our car? Okay, sure, we'd both been using it, but it wasn't just hers to claim. Here's the deal, the car wasn't even ours. It was a lease. I was the one who signed the lease, and yeah, we'd both been chipping in for the payments, but we didn't own it. The car belonged to the bank. Plain and simple. We both used it. We both relied on it. But at the end of the day, the thing still had someone else's name on the title, and it wasn't either of ours. So I replied, trying to keep things civil, hey, just a reminder, the car's leased. It's not really ours to split. It belongs to the leasing company. We still owe on it. I figured that'd be the end of the conversation. I mean, how do you argue with basic facts? But this is Sabrina we're talking about. She fired back almost instantly, I don't care if it's a lease. I'm the one who uses it the most. You barely drive it. It's basically mine. She ended it with, I'm taking it when I move out. You'll figure out the rest. Now yeah, she had a bit of a point. I didn't use the car as much. I lived close to work and most places I needed to go, so I usually walked or took the train. Sabrina definitely drove it more often. But still, it wasn't hers to take. But just because she used the car more didn't mean she could suddenly claim it like it was hers alone. We were both tied to that lease. If she drove off with the car and stopped paying, I'd be left holding the bill. And I wasn't about to let that happen. By now, I was getting seriously frustrated. I didn't want to turn this into a full-blown argument, but I also wasn't going to roll over and let her take the car without sorting out who was responsible for the rest of the payments. So I picked up the phone and called her. She answered with tension already thick in her voice. No greeting, just straight to it. You better not be calling to argue about the car. I sighed, trying to keep my cool. Look, Sabrina, I'm not looking for a fight. I just want to figure this out like adults. The car's a lease, we still owe payments. If you're planning on taking it, are you also planning on covering the rest of the lease? She let out a long, annoyed sigh, like I was the one being unreasonable. Why would I pay the whole thing? We got the car together. You should still pay your half even if I'm the one keeping it. I blinked. She was serious. So you want me to keep making payments on a car I won't even be using? I asked. That makes zero sense. She didn't even skip a beat. Because it's your responsibility too. We signed for it together, remember? Just because I'm taking it doesn't mean you're off the hook. You still need to pay. That's when I started losing my patience. Sabrina, come on. If you're taking the car, then it's yours. I'm not going to keep paying for something I don't have access to. That's not how this works, and you know it. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. For a second, I thought maybe, just maybe, she was about to come around and see my point. But nope. She shot back with, well, if you don't want to help pay for it, then I'll just return it and let the bank deal with it. How about that? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was actually threatening to dump the car and tank the lease just to get back at me for not paying. That's not a solution, Sabrina, I said, trying to stay calm. If we break the lease, we both get hit with penalties. Do you really want to deal with that just to prove a point? She didn't answer right away. I could tell she was thinking it over. Finally, she said, fine. What if we keep splitting the payments until the lease is up and then I take it over completely? I considered it. It wasn't the worst idea in the world, but even then I wasn't entirely comfortable. What if she bailed halfway through? I'd still be legally tied to the lease, and if anything went wrong, the bank would be coming after me. Still, I didn't want to drag this out forever. So I met her halfway. All right, I said. We'll split the payments for now. But once you move out, the car is officially yours. You take over the lease, and I'll sign whatever I need to get my name off it. That's the only way I'm agreeing to this. Another pause. Then she said, fine, but you better stick to your word. I hung up feeling a weird mix of relief and frustration. Yeah, we had an agreement, but it still felt like a raw deal. I was going to be paying for a car I barely touched, but at least there was an end in sight. Things were quiet for a few days after that. No texts, no calls, and for the first time in a while, no new drama in the group chat. It seemed like the whole car mess had finally been resolved, or so I thought. Update 3. So here's a plot twist I did not see coming. Sabrina found my Reddit post. Yep. Somehow, someway, she stumbled across it. I don't know if one of our mutual friends tipped her off or if she was just scrolling Reddit looking for dirt, but either way, she found it. And, of course, she was furious. I was just relaxing at home, thinking maybe, just maybe, this whole thing had finally blown over. That's when my phone started ringing. It was Sabrina. And I had a gut feeling this wasn't going to be a friendly little catch-up. I answered, and before I could even say hello, she went off like a firecracker. You need to delete that Reddit post right now, she snapped. I can't believe you wrote about our divorce like that and made me look like the bad guy. I was taken aback. I mean, it's not like I was dragging her name through the mud. I never even mentioned her name in the post. I was just telling my side of what happened. Still, I knew explaining that to her would be like shouting into a storm. So I stayed calm. Why does it matter, Sabrina? I asked. It's anonymous. I didn't mention your name. Nobody knows it's you. But she wasn't buying it. I don't care if no one knows it's me, she yelled. You made me sound like a villain, and I'm not going to stand for that. Take it down or I'll make your life even more difficult. I rolled my eyes. Seriously, what more could she do? Between the apartment drama, the car argument, and the group chat war, I figured we were already scraping the bottom of the barrel. But if she wanted to play hardball, fine, I could play too. So I kept my voice even and said, all right. I'll delete the post if you agree to pay me back for your share of the rent from when you were living here. You know, since I was covering everything during that time. There was a pause. A long one. I could practically hear her fuming on the other end of the line. Are you serious? She said finally, her voice sharp. You want me to pay rent? We were married. You were such an **** hole. And then click. She hung up. I just sat there for a moment, staring at the screen, trying to process what had just happened. Was I really the bad guy for asking her to pitch in on rent? I mean, we were both living there, but I was the one paying for everything, rent, utilities, maintenance, the whole 9 yards. I didn't think that was unreasonable. Apparently, she thought otherwise. So yeah, she called me an **** hole and slammed the phone down. I guess that means the post stays up. Honestly, I still don't see the problem. I didn't lie. I didn't invent anything. I just shared what happened. And if that makes her uncomfortable? Well, not really my problem anymore.